Hey, it's Scott. Welcome back to Spin Magazine's Lip Service. My next guest is the lead singer of one of the most important bands of the 90s, having sold more than 22 million records. He is Ed Kowalczyk from Live. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode. We get into everything from his role in Fight Club to everything in between, the new tour, new music, and look for things to come. Check it out. Coming up, Ed Kowalczyk from Live on the show. Welcome back to the show. Welcoming Ed Kowalczyk from Live. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. We have so many mutual friends. This is going to be a blast. I mean, we got friends for days we can talk about. My buddy
That's
Sean
true.
Fay, you guys are great friends. That's how we actually got connected.
Yeah.
Robin Diaz,
That's
Gavin
right.
Rosdale. I mean, the list goes on, right?
I know. We're like, was it 6 degrees of Scott Lips?
Or 1 degree. Actually, Jerry Harrison was on the show not long ago, and he produced the band early on.
That's right.
How'd y'all meet? I mean, we have so much to get into, including your history, but how did you meet Jerry early on?
We met Jerry through Gary Kerfus and Radioactive Records. We got our deal. We were signed out of CBGB's down here in the Lower East Side.
So
And,
save that because there's so much to get into. But,
Okay.
But Jerry and you worked together on, I think, 3 records.
Yeah, so we met Jerry. He produced the first album, Mental Jewelry, and the second album, Throwing Copper, came out in 94. I think we recorded that in 92 and late 92, 93. And then he produced us again on The Distance to Here in 1998, 99, the fifth album. Yeah.
That guy has stories for days. And you tell me stories about Graham Parsons'
Fourth
funeral have you heard all the stories?
He is a walking encyclopedia
Yeah.
of rock and roll over the last 50 years, 40 years or whatever. It's amazing.
We
yeah.
got to talk a lot about New York in the 70s, which is incredible. And hearing about CBGBs and the early days, he was like, yeah, you could buy an apartment for $4,000 back then. I'm like, why didn't I buy 5 apartments? But take me back to the beginning. Ed. Obviously, you've been doing music now for almost 40 years, which is incredible to think that you started when you were in high school.
Yeah, the original band started, we were in 8th grade. It was it was like School of Rock before the School of Rock. Our high school band director put us together on the weekends and played throughout high school, got our record deal again here in New York in 1990, 91, a couple years after we graduated from high school.
Your dad was a teacher?
Yep. And I came from York, Pennsylvania. We all grew up there, got the record deal, had the van, it was great actually growing up there because we could drive to New York in 2 hours. You could be everywhere on, in the Eastern Seaboard practically in a few hours. So it was actually a nice place to be born as a musician because it's so local to everything.
What was York like? Because I always wonder if the song "Shit Town" that you wrote on
that was about the
Copper-
only thing I liked about it was its location, all the places you could get out and go to quickly. It was, one of those sort of anti-inspiration towns to grow up in where it's actually great because you cannot wait to get the hell out of there. And so I look back on it with a little more of a smile these days.
Was that song "Shit Town" about growing up in Yorktown?
Oh,
It
yeah.
was.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. They didn't like me very much in York after that song came out. It was this huge record, and our shout out to the hometown was
Shit Town.
was Shit Town. I always say I need an armored personnel carrier in 95 to visit my hometown.
So you grow up with music all around you, but your dad was a teacher. What did your mom do?
My mom, she worked in a bank. She was a single mom raised me and my brother in York. And nobody was really musical. I had my aunt, my late aunt, she taught me to sing. I was in state choir. Yeah, I loved to sing. Was singing in the band on the weekends, but I was really into singing. I've been singing for classical stuff and trying out for choir and all that, and made it pretty high up in the state choir with my aunt coaching me. And it's funny, I look back on it, I think that those early lessons, even though I didn't have that many years of training, really helped me to be able to still do this and sing as powerfully as I think I'd still do.
Did your parents ever push you to have music lessons on guitar or piano or anything like that?
It was, I wasn't discouraged in any way, but it was really something that I just loved from, my earliest memories, just melody and lyric and just being so moved by music and singing to myself all the time and just loving music. And then, when the band got together that early, it was such a strange thing because I had been loving music and loving choir, but I didn't have any way to really make it my own. And the band was that vehicle. And then I thought, I could do this way. I can if I find something to sing about, I could take my vocal and put it with this band and maybe have a life doing this. And so, yeah.
What were those bands that you were listening to early on? I know REM and U2 were huge influences to you.
Oh, huge. Yeah, I would say they were the two main influences on me in the 80s. Growing up in high school, we listened to, WVYC, the college radio station, was the only place you could really hear REM before, they broke pop, later, in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s. So them and U2, they were huge. I saw U2. My first concert was 1987. I went with a buddy of mine who wasn't even in the band. His name was B. Markle, was my best friend back then, and we paid $60, and we got a nosebleed ticket and a bus ride from York, Pennsylvania to the old Veterans Stadium.
Sure.
Outside Philly. They tore it down. Actually, it was one of the last shows. It might have been the last big concert there. 70, 80,000 people. U2 Joshua Tree. It was life changing. I remember after the show or in the encore or something, when you're singing the "How Long" as you're leaving the stadium, I looked and I turned to my friend and said, "I'm going to do what Bono and that band is doing, or I'm going to die trying." And we had just sort of gotten the band kind of together in high school, and it was the fire. It was like it really inspired me to do it and to work and to figure out how to write songs and melodies and what I wanted to say and what I wanted to write about.
When you first met the guys in the band, were you playing covers? Were you doing U2 covers and REM covers?
Yeah, we were doing. We did REM, Begin to Begin. We did Cure. We did the Cure, Boys Don't Cry. Those were our first couple we learned, I think. And of course, everybody plays Modern English. I Melt with You because it's 2 chords and it's easy to learn. It's always the first cover band song you learn. Oh gosh, Husker Du for like the heavier stuff. We were really into Bob Mould, and I couldn't play guitars enough yet, but we were into them.
Because this was 84 or so, right? So right on the precipice of like the hair metal scene, which came a few years later. Obviously grunge came later. But what was going on in music that made you connect with it early on? Because in 84, there was all kinds of music happening. And like I said, and then afterwards, it was the hard rock stuff. So
yeah, it was like the alternative scene there. Before, obviously Nirvana broke out and we had modern rock radio, it was college radio in the 80s. So literally like have a box and dial in 88.7 or wherever it was way down the bottom of the dial to hear these bands. The Smiths, The Cure, Bauhaus, REM, U2, and these bands before they were popular, really popular, really big pop rock bands, stadium bands. And so, we had a friend of ours who was like a, kind of the older, cooler guy, like, like kind of, no, you don't want to listen to that. You want to listen to this. You want to be on WVYC. You want to be listening to this college radio jam. And immediately I remember, getting into that and thinking, I'm thinking about these lyrics. These guys are trying to tell me something. And I like that. So those, Peter Gabriel, Bono's lyrics, Michael's introverted, beautiful, cerebral, like what's he saying, but it's so important, I got to find out. Those guys really engaged my mind as a young man and actually gave me permission to be what I felt was a guy who's a thinking guy. Guys, I didn't want to just sing other people's songs. I didn't want to sing about girlfriends and shit like that. I mean, that's fine, but that wasn't me. And these guys were like singing about deep stuff, spiritual stuff.
I was going to say there's a spirituality aspect to what Bono does and Michael Stipe does, and I guess that's what you connected to early on because your lyrics have always had that element of spirituality. Yeah, and that's
the part of my life that would have been interested in that regardless of whether I was a singer or not. Yeah. So for me to be able to have those influences and those guys, like I said, was almost permission to say, hey, you don't have to be like everything on the radio because you can be your own person. You can be your own voice, and you can have lyrics that poke at the truth and poke at reality and really try to bring people into this other place. And that's because that's what they were doing for me.
Yeah. I remember seeing a video of you and thought, this guy's deep. I remember I Alone. I was telling you a minute ago, like I picture myself standing up on the subway just singing that I Alone. It's such an incredible song.
Thank you.
And and lyrically, but you got to remember, I guess, growing up in York, it was like a town of, I think there was like a Harley Davidson factory there, right?
Yeah.
Working class.
Very much. Growing up there was, basically everybody worked at either the AMF plant putting together Harley Davidsons or putting together big tractors literally across the highway at Caterpillar when they were the big headquarters was there. And there's a song on Thorin Copper called Pillar of Davidson, which is, a play on those two big companies in York. So yeah, that was the working class blue collar, area that we grew up in. And yeah.
Did you ever have like a regular job? Because you kind of knew what you wanted to do since you were 13. What were you doing as like?
I had my first job when I was 14. I started washing dishes in Grand Falloons, downtown York. I got a job early because I needed to buy guitars and all that stuff, And I worked there. Gosh, I worked in the restaurant, that same restaurant right up when Mental Jewelry was still out. Really? I was still helping them out. Yeah, because we hadn't really made any money yet.
Yeah.
And so I was working right up until I had a record deal. It was probably 2021 still going in there.
So talk to me about, again, you're 13, you meet these guys, you decide, let's go for it. And I guess it's 6-7 years before you get your record deal. Right. So walk me up from that point to getting your deal eventually and how that all happened.
It's crazy because, in high school, things are moving so fast, and you have you're supposed to go to college, right? That's what everybody's supposed to do. You're supposed to. And so I was all accepted. I had a nice scholarship to American University. They were going to pay my whole boat to come down there. I was like, okay, great, let's go. And
what was your major?
I didn't even know. Oh. I just wanted to sing.
But a scholarship in what? What were they going to give you a scholarship for?
It was just to be there. Okay. Just because I guess
we like this guy.
They like that pull out. Yeah, let's bring him down here. I don't know. It was just something I felt like I had to take care of, but I really wanted to be in the band and do the band, obviously. So we were working really hard. We were showcasing probably once a month at CBGB's, driving in, in our old 78 Dodge Sportsman that had no damn air conditioning and freaking sitting in the Holland Tunnel, 110 degrees with the freaking fan blowing, like sweating our asses off. And so we got our deal early on. Well, I said I was still working.
What was CBGB's like back then when you were performing there?
Man, it was awesome. I mean, I remember the first time we pulled up there and we played this I don't know if back in those days, on the Monday was there were literally 15 bands.
Yeah.
At half-hour slots. And we pulled up in our van. I'm in this hippie shirt with an acoustic guitar because we're just putting out Pain Lives on the Riverside. We hadn't really become the big guitar band yet. That was gonna happen with Throwing Copper.
You had long hair back then?
I had long hair, the John Lennon glasses, right. and we pull up and it's two death metal bands, a punk band, this other alt rock band, and they looked at us like we came from another planet. I'm like, no, we just came from York, Pennsylvania.
It's a Beatles cover band.
That's right. And we had a really good relationship with Hilly, who was the manager there. And the story goes that he liked live so much. I think he liked Gary and Jerry and Talking Heads, and we had that connection. Yeah. He used to give us, he didn't give anybody money, but he used to give us $50.
That's great. That was gas money for you.
We got paid.
So eventually you play there, and then does a label come to see you there at CBGB?
Yeah. Gary Kerfer's Radioactive Records signed us right literally in what you could call the dressing rooms of CBGB, was more like plywood box with spray paint on it. And he said, hey, you want to go make a record? And I was like, yeah, I'm washing dishes, dude. Yeah. I want to. And so I deferred. I was deferring college 2 years, and they finally said, all right, man, it's time. Yeah. You're either going to come, we're going to give you this, or you're not, right? So I think it was literally I had to make the call on a Thursday, and I remember the phone rang when I was working at Grand Falloons. He said, hey, you got a phone call. Pick up, and it's Gary Kerfers from Radioactive, manager, Talking Heads, big guy. He goes, let's go make a record, because everybody had turned us down. Every major label had turned us down.
And what songs did you have at that point? Did you have I Alone?
No. This was Pain Lies on the Riverside, Operation Spirit, the first record, Mental Jewelry. Good Pain. There was a song. Basically, 5 of the songs that were on Mental Jewelry. Sure. We had this demo going, and he heard the demo, came to see us at CB's, and then signed us backstage. Said, you want to? Well, no. He called and then he saw us, and then the next day we were like, is he going to sign us? Is he going to sign us? And then he called and said, you want to go make a record? And I said, hell yeah. And we went to. I'll never forget it because I drove with Matt Gracie, our guitar tech, who still works for life. And we drove his car 13 hours to Milwaukee and made that record in 1991.
And did things start to happen fairly quickly for you? I know that you opened up for the Pixies at some point. Who were you starting to open up for?
Yeah, we came from York, Pennsylvania, but there was a cool town called Lancaster, Pennsylvania, across the river.
Still there.
It's a great, there was. No, it's still there, I'm pretty sure. So there was a club there called Chameleon Club, and I think that's still there. I got to do my research on Lancaster, make sure it's still there.
My memory is terrible, so don't worry.
But anyway, we played, gosh, I saw Soundgarden there. I saw a 600-seater. I saw Soundgarden there in the 80s. I saw, we saw the Pixies open for the Pixies. Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, we just, we would leave York to go over there. That was where we had to go to play anywhere where there were national bands or anything like that. But we didn't really do it much. We were all about coming to New York in those early days.
Because at some point you were selling like junk bonds to raise money for your first record, right?
Yeah, we did.
It's a crazy concept. Like, what was that all about?
We sold junk bonds to all our friends and family. We raised $10,000.
How does that work? Because this is before like GoFundMe and everything.
Yeah.
So are you just sending out like, are you
there's
passing around
pictures of them.
flyers?
We were like, we had little stock certificates and everything, man. We had.
What did they get if they invested?
I don't remember. I think they might have got to just say they
invested.
They helped us. Right. I don't know if we ever paid anybody any of that back, but I'm sure they got a lot of tickets in the throughout the future years after that.
The idea was, and what would they put in, like $500, $1,000,
yeah,
or $100?
Exactly. It was probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 of our friends and stuff got together and wanted to help us, and we sold these bonds and made the first record as this Public Affection, which was our like wavy, like our new wavy 80s name that we changed.
So, and actually, it was called Junk Bonds for a reason, I guess, because it wasn't really worth anything.
No.
But the first record comes out, The Death of a Dictionary, in 1989.
Yeah.
And talk to me about that, and then the path leading up to, obviously, the third record was the biggest success. But talk to me about that.
Well, Death of a Dictionary and Public Affection was really early. I mean, that was like high school. There's some new wavy kind of stuff. I mean, it's a really trippy recording because it's us finding our way. You know what I mean? Like, what are we going to be? We're kind of like into the alternative thing, but we don't really know how to do it yet. And so we were learning, you know, and by the time Mental Jewelry came around, we were pretty fully formed. I had a pretty good, strong idea of what I wanted to say, how I wanted to sing it. I feel like, you know, songwriting-wise, I love the charm of that record. They're real straightforward, simple, like 2 chords goes, because you can really see me growing as a songwriter, as a lyricist. You can feel it and see it as the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
And it's all energy. It's just all just... And then we start to kind of get more sophisticated and figure it out. And then Throwing Copper, the big thing for Throwing Copper between Mental Jewelry and, you know, and that record was we took the guitar amps and just went, boom. And once I figured out that guitar could do what I wanted it and more to do with my dynamic, lyric, everything I wanted to do could just be helped by... you know, these tones and I started to become a guitar guy at that point. And I hadn't really, but I was just banging on acoustic guitar before that.
Yeah.
And so that was like, you know, Dinosaur Jr., Bob Mould, Husker Du, you know, Nirvana, of course, everything that was coming out that sounds like raw, melodic and rock. And we just turned up and never turned down again.
When you first heard Nirvana, this is, I guess, 92 or so, what did you think? Did it immediately change your life? And was that one of the reasons that you decided, let's turn the guitars up?
You know, it was definitely part of it. I mean, we were still, you know, again, fledgling. We were 19, 20, 21, still trying to figure out, 22, trying to figure out how to sound.
Sure.
And so as that was happening, we were doing that. Guitars became everything. And we were already playing guitars, but we weren't playing them like that.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, yeah, boom. And that changed my writing. That changed everything. That's when, you know, I was able to just stand and bash on a song like, you know, All Over You or I Alone and really go, yeah, this is what I want to do now. Turn it up. And I've never turned down.
Did you feel like you had to change the name of the band? Because you went through like 7 incarnations of the band's name early on, right?
Well, when I first came, the original 3 guys we had a little band without a singer. And they were called First Aid or Band Aid or something. So that was like the original first name. And then it was Public Affection. We were really hitting them out of the park. And then live, you know, came where I literally pulled it out of a hat. And I thought, oh my God, no one will ever be able to like pigeonhole this band. It's just going to be like totally open to whatever. It's just going to be so. And I remember I've read this just recently. REM was doing an interview with Michael. They asked Michael about REM. I'd never heard them talk about the name. And it was similar to how I was feeling about naming the band. He said, we wanted something that meant barely anything because we didn't want anybody to pigeonhole us. We were so creative and we felt like we were doing something original that we didn't want
be stuck into a name.
Yeah, we didn't want a name that boxed us in. Well, I just took that to another extreme, I think, with live. But that was the spirit of it. The spirit of it in that day was to just leave it wide open and allow people to find it.
This is also pre-Siri, because every time I say to Siri, play live, they're like, I don't know what they're playing me. They're like...
Let's just say it wasn't the most prescient choice of brand for the Google age.
That's true.
But this was 1992.
Yeah.
My laptop was this thick. It was $5,000. It had a black and white screen, okay?
We didn't know.
And the dial-up modem was 26K, right?
Crazy.
So give me a break. I didn't know the internet was coming.
Nobody knew. Eventually, you connect with Jerry Harrison, as we were talking about. Were you a big Talking Heads fan early on?
I was, yeah. Loved the melodies, loved the band. Didn't know the band members besides David. So when when they said, hey, Talking Heads are going to produce you, and I thought, oh, David Byrne's going to produce us. And it was Jerry. I was like, okay, Jerry, keyboard player, cool, let's go. And it was great because he said, well, I live in Milwaukee, and this guy, John Vartanian, or Dave Vartanian, has a home studio. He's an awesome guy. Let's go make the record here. And we did. So we drove to Milwaukee, and actually we did pre-production for Throwing Copper in Milwaukee too. We were in Milwaukee all the time.
When you're making a record like Throwing Copper, a lot of those songs are so iconic. Did you have any indication back then that those songs would go on to last 30, 40 years? And actually, you had this incredible career partly due to that record.
We had, big time. Yes and no.
Yeah.
I think that in some ways you have to be, especially when you're 23, you're crazy, or you're crazy enough to believe that somebody wants to get into what you're saying, and you have to really believe and go out. And we did. We had it all out there, and I remember just trying to make songs that were big feeling, that went to that place of depth in me as I was writing them, and just hoping that by the time it got produced, people would feel what I'm feeling with it. And we got really lucky. We had a great band, great producers. Jerry did a great job on the pre-production, and it all delivered in the way that it needed to. Lightning Crashes, it's funny because that song being the one, the most famous. And I do remember having a very specific moment where I got the final mixes from Tom Mortalgi. I was sitting in my Honda Accord. I put the cassette in there and sat in the parking garage in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, outside my apartment, and listened to the whole record from top to bottom. It was the first time I had heard the mixes. And it was amazing. I was like, I can't believe we sound this good. And then got to Lightning Crashes. And I remember after it was finished, I played in the car and I said to myself, this will be the one that people will know the band.
Yeah.
People will know what I'm trying to say through.
And I'm sure fans come up to you over the years and say that song changed my life.
Yes.
Any great stories about that?
Oh my gosh, daily, all the time. And just, feeling like you're having that intuition about it, but then having the record company, no freaking way this is going to be a single, dude. It's 5 minutes, 20 seconds long. The chorus doesn't come in for 2 minutes. And I go, I know, but this is my favorite. Take it or leave it. And then
Who finally decided to put that, to release that as a single?
What's crazy? We were working, I remember Selling the Drama came out on college radio, and then K-Rock added it. And we were like, oh my God, here we go. And then we worked and worked and worked and worked and toured. And then we put out I Alone and toured, made that wild and crazy video with my rat tail and shit.
Yeah.
And
the rat tail. I forgot you had the rat tail.
I still have it.
Yeah. You should bring it back at some point.
Holding on to that bad boy. And, but Lightning Crashes, I remember, that was, it was universally denied that it was ever going to be a single. Mm. And I didn't care. I just knew it. I had an intuition about it. And so when we got the word that it was going to come out, I was surprised. I didn't think, that was going to be the one they picked. A&R kind of, the record companies, though, just had a lot of say in like, okay, man, because there's a lot, we're doing really well. We're going to go with Lightning Crashes. And I almost fell over. Right, I was like, "See, here we go."
Because did I Alone come out before that?
Yeah, so we had two songs out. We were just working. I think the record was like platinum, and we were so happy with where it was, all the success we were having. But we had no idea what was coming. So MCA, they called up a Radioactive, said, "Hey, we're going to go with Lightning Crash. We're going to make a video. Let's start looking at the treatments for it." And we made this incredible video with Jake Scott, for Lightning Crashes. That is just, I think it's in the MoMA library. It's like really beautifully done.
Also, a lot of heavy questions you were asking at 22, 23,
heavy.
Right?
Yes, heavy. That was the thing about live early on. Nobody, especially in the press, nobody really knew what to do with our content, because lyrically it wasn't your run of the mill, you know. It was sort of, we were from York, Pennsylvania, and we were like really serious, you know, or came off really serious.
Yeah.
We weren't really serious otherwise, but
There's a lot of hand gestures in the videos.
just really intense, really intense. And it was like, you know, that was the era though. You know, it was a do or die kind of mentality for bands back then. I think because you knew the stakes were so high that if you could get it going, you could really go. And we worked really hard.
There's a great story, and we have so many stories that our buddy had told me about you, but there's a great story in the early 90s. You were playing a festival, and Nirvana was playing the festival. And I think that you'd like to go into the dress rooms and meet the bands either before or after they play, right? And I believe that you went in, I think, before Nirvana played and went to go meet the band. Tell me that story.
Yeah. You know, it was with Jerry Harrison. I was at the Armory.
He was with you. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He got us tickets because we were doing pre-production for Throwing Copper. It was the In Utero tour. And I think it was called the Armory in Milwaukee. And he said, "You want to go see Nirvana?" I said, "Hell yeah. Hell yeah." It was the one where you had the mannequin with the wings.
Yeah.
The freaking show was freaking
Was
insane.
that 93 or 94? Maybe something around there.
Somewhere around there. And so Jerry gets us in, and we go, you know, because we're with the rock star, you know, the Talking Heads guy, and gets us backstage, and it's like this funky Armory backstage, almost like a old, like a gym locker, but it's huge. And there's this table, and all the guys in Nirvana, except for Kurt, have these loops, and they're all looking at pictures. They're all looking at a photo shoot that they did, and we're like, "Hey, man, it's Dave Grohl there, holy shit." And we said, "Where's Kurt? Can't wait to meet Kurt." I didn't see Kurt. I didn't know where he was. Well, I'm like, all right, show's about to start. These guys take off or whatever. Talking to Dave and all them, met them, and then I go to the bathroom, take a leak. There's those the dividers between the urinals there.
Oh, sure.
And somebody had, you know, sauntered in beside me. Looked over and it was Kurt. So we met in the bathroom. So what's up, Kurt? I said, have a great show. That was it. That's the only time I met him.
Because I heard a story he was like on the ground or something, and then
He was before that.
Right.
Yeah, I saw him. He was over kind of like in a little ball with no shoes on. I'm thinking, man, you got to go on stage in like 45 minutes.
And then it was the greatest show you've ever seen.
I did where he came from there and what I saw on stage, I'll never forget.
Incredible.
It was incredible.
Well, other pivotal moments and great moments in your life, my buddy Sean, who we spoke about, actually helped get you a role in Fight Club.
Yeah.
And you got to meet Brad Pitt. So tell me that story.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I moved to, we were making the Distance to Here record, which is fourth record. And in L.A. Now, having grown up in York, Pennsylvania, as soon as I had sunshine like that for 30 days straight, I was like, I'm staying, move my house. I didn't even go back. I had somebody pack up and just move it because I was like, I'm done. I'm staying. Ended up staying in California for a long time, for 13 years. And but my only friend out there, because I was the only guy who moved and left, went out there, was Sean Fay, who was also from the East Coast, and he is an agent for actors.
A manager,
and
yeah.
A
He
manager.
worked with me for years, yeah.
And so, out one night with him, and I say, hey, man, now that I'm in L.A. and I'm a rock star, we're doing all this great stuff. I said, you should put me in a movie. And I was half joking. He said, you serious? I said, yeah. He said, check out this script. I'm going to send you a script called Fight Club and do you know David Fincher? I said, oh, I love the game. I love all that shit. It's great. He said, oh, he's a huge fan of Live. And I said, no. And so ended up reading for the, I got the script and I read it. And I went and bought the book. I was like, this is freaking incredible, Yeah, I want to
You had
read
never
for
acted?
It. Never.
Right.
Well, in high school, I was Captain Hook in the high school play. That was about it. And so he said, he wants you to read for it, for a role. And I said, oh, shit, all right, cool. So I went in and I was originally going to be a priest. There's a part in the script where a priest gets in the fight and you got the black eye and he's in Fight Club and he squirts a hose. And I was going to be a priest with a black eye squirt a hose. Well, he called me back. He said, no, I want to give you some lines. He said, so I got another role for you. You're going to be a waiter. I said, oh, really? Okay. He said, do me a favor. He said, go rent The Shining. He said, and the bartender in The Shining. He said, be him. I said, okay. So I went and rented The Shining. My wife and I sat around and watched it. And I was doing the lines. I was like, how am I doing? You know, she's, I think you're okay. So I go and I recorded and I got the role. And then it was it's such a trip because you're just hanging out making it was 2 days. We did a shoot and then a reshoot of about a month later. But the first shoot day was like 14-hour day because Fincher does not edit.
Yeah.
He likes to get these long takes. So that whole freaking restaurant scene, we had to do it like 50 times, like from start to finish. It was like 3 minutes long. So I'm staring, I'm like, all right, where's the tour bus, you know? Like, I get out of here. And I used to, between all the takes, I was standing outside with Helen Bonham Carter, and she'd just be chain smoking, like, I got this fucking Fincher, and he just takes so damn long. And I'm like, she's like, how do you fancy acting? I'm like, I like my band, but this is a cool movie.
Also, from when you read for a movie to when you get the offer, it could be weeks or if not months. And during that time, you actually got to meet Brad Pitt.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't shoot with Brad Pitt there because my scene was with Ed Norton.
Yeah.
So I was hanging out with Ed and Helena. And then I met Brad. I was actually with Michael Stipe when I met Brad. And we were all at Jones. And Courtney Love was there. And we were all had dinner and pizza at Jones, I think, or something. And got
my favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
So did Brad tell you, hey, I'm going to push you for this role? Because he was a fan of the band, too.
He was a fan. I think it was all David Fincher because I'd met Brad a couple times, but like I said, I didn't really see Brad in the movie until I watched it.
Yeah.
And I screened it. There's another funny story. So Sean and I got a call from Fincher's people and said, hey, you guys want to come see it? It's basically done. We have a little screening room thing going on. I said, sure. So we drive over there, and it's just me and Sean and Meatloaf watching Red, White, and Fight Club.
So random. Did you know the movie was going to be a hit as soon as you saw it? I mean, obviously David Fincher, Brad Pitt, Ed Norton.
At first, nobody was sure because I remember there was controversy about the poster because that the movie company used Brad with this bar of soap, and it's like, that's not, the movie is not like that, right? And so there's all this like, is it going to do well? And I don't think it did like the sales that they thought a Brad Pitt movie should do at that time. But over the years, it's become obviously this cult thing it got it, but it got it late. It's got it as history's been really kind to it. But it's a cool movie. If you're going to do one, I figure that's
all you need to do. You do some incredible tours. You did Woodstock, I think twice, right?
Yeah, we did not the original one, the
94.
Redo.
Yeah.
94. Yeah, 94, and then we did the one in 99. Was it 99?
99, I think. 9 Inch Nails and
the first one was
and
amazing.
the craziness that ensued, right?
The first one we did, it was like right when I Alone was coming out. So that was like a really pivotal show for us to get in, a 250,000 people and, basically play Throwing Copper up there. We played on Friday night, I think at like 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock.
What was that like?
It was crazy. I mean, I remember it was on a rotating stage. So you would set up, all your shit, and then you'd spin around, and then you were there and go.
Yeah.
So, whoever's behind you's finishing up, they're doing this changeover, and then the thing starts to move. And as it's coming into view, there's this sea of people, you can't see the end of it. I was like, whoa. I just remember freaking out and just getting real in my head and just going, we're going to make it. We're going to make it. We're going to be good.
When you look back on those performances, are you happy with them? Do you feel like the energy was there?
No, because you look back on that and you go like, oh, I'm so much better now, But I guess I'm always happy to think like in that moment we were as good as we could be,
Yeah.
But I'm always too critical. Always critical.
When you think about like 1994 as a year for music, it's incredible to think about how many great records came out that year, right? Let's talk about it for a minute, because obviously Throwing Copper, but you had so many great records. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Hole, but you had Soundgarden, Jeff Buckley, Nirvana, Green Day.
It's incredible.
So many great records. I mean, do you think there'll ever be a year like that in music again?
It's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine because when you look back and you really start to name them out like that, it's just nuts.
One after another.
August and Everything After.
Yeah.
Counting Crows. We ended up touring with them for a ton. It's like all that year was so formative for so many artists. And lots of them are still here and doing great shit. You know what I mean? So that's really cool too.
But what do you think about the state of rock music right now? Because you're touring with like STP and some great bands, Bush, our buddy Gavin Roston, we were just talking about it. But when you look back on that year, like 1984 was all about rock. And now it's hard to get radio airplay. As a rock band, people like to see the bands live, but there's not a lot of rock on the radio. So what do you think about the state of rock music these days?
Well, that was the thing about then. It was, like you said, it was all rock.
Yeah.
And we were just everybody was just staring at us from all over the world. You know, it was just everybody was just into that. There was just such a plethora of unique bands, unique individuals. And I think that's what faded away as the internet took over and as things more homogenized. When you list those records, even 10 of them from 94, think of how different each one of them is. They're all so different. About 5 or 6 years after that, you couldn't say they all sounded different. There were 3 or 4 that sounded kind of like the guy who did the big one before that and inspired them, you know. Yeah. Not to be mean, but it started to get more homogenized. There's such a uniqueness in that time that's a testament to not only the bands, but also the way the music business was. There was
there's like 15 incredible records that came out.
Yeah, and there was a pipeline, and there's A&R, and there was like this whole like editing that got, you know, done behind the scenes that made sure that by the time like, you know, a band like Green Day, you heard them, they were massive, they were huge, they sounded amazing. There was so much of the business supporting us, supporting that unique art. That's what's missed. That's what you look back and get nostalgic about because, like you said, it's a, you know, the pipeline's everywhere now.
Yeah, it's different.
It's not,
you can discover music so many different ways.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely good things about it, for sure.
And probably too much music out at this point that's not great.
Exactly.
But talk to me, I love the stories behind some of these incredible songs like I Alone. Again, I can picture myself just singing that on the subway standing up. It's such a powerful song. So tell me the story behind a song like I Alone. And also, we talked about Lightning Crashes. I know you've told that story a bunch, but you know, the stories behind those songs in particular. I guess we'll start with I Alone.
Well, I Alone, you know, is one of my favorites, and it's such a meditation. It starts out with it's easier not to be wise. Ain't it the truth? You know, that's how I still feel that way. It's like 30 years later, I still ain't got no wisdom. Not enough, you know. Everybody needs more, right? And so right away you can hear from the first line of that song that I'm going deep. You know, I'm waking up and I'm thinking, what's the truth? That's how intense that was, you know, making those records. How can I find that in myself? And what's that going to feel like and sound like when I make this song? It's easier not to be wise, you know, sank into Eden with you. These are little montages of like phrases that come into my mind that then I like cut and paste them together.
Yeah.
And then follow this thread or some gibberish and then follow. Oh, I sounded like I said that on that recording. Oh, no, I didn't, but that was cool, you know, and then just, so it's a real spontaneous, you know, stream of consciousness kind of approach to my writing. I've never really been a guy who sits around and says, okay, I have a concept about a story, about a guy, that's not how I do it. I just let it flow. Like Lightning Crashes, you know, the context that we were talking, you know, after Mental Jewelry, you know, we got in Buzzbin, we were like gold, we #1 on college radio. I didn't know we were going to get any bigger than that. Yeah. I had no expectations.
You were just a high school band.
Yeah, no expectations.
Yeah.
And then we got a record deal, a pretty major one. And after the Mental Jewelry record was finished, they said, okay, now do it again. And I'm like, well, this was my whole life to this point. How the hell am I going to do it again? And then I really had to get serious. So that's when I started to really woodshed these ideas like I Alone for hours, just sitting there banging on it, you know, just figuring out what this band was going to say, what I was going to front it with melodically, all that. While I was in that space, you know, for all these songs, not all of them. There's, you know, White Discussion's a bunch where we collaborated on the riffs and we, you know, I did all lyrics and melodies to everything, but, you know, there was collaboration on that and Damn It Otter Creek or the album tracks. But the singles, I Alone, those are Lightning Crashes, like woodshed songs on acoustic guitar, bringing them to the band and just trying, because I knew that was my responsibility. I had to come up with another Pain Lies on the Riverside. That's what they wanted, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know, I'm at a blank. We might have had a couple songs. And I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I got a song, kind of feels like I want to feel like this U2 thing. I got this going on. What's next? And Bob Dylan came to my mind. I just thought, you know, what if I just don't think about melody right now or don't think about a song and just start telling a story? What would it be? And I just put my hand on that F and just said Lightning Crashes. You know, A New Mother Cries. There's a birth.
Just came to you, just
yeah,
like
it just
that.
came to me. And then I just followed that, you know, story. I was like, okay, then I got to the end of, you know, the second verse. And I thought, I got a cool story. Here's kind of like a circle of life kind of thing going on. I feel like a meditation. But I didn't have a chorus for like weeks. But I kept going back to this Lightning Crash, and then stop. And I remember when and I just jumped on the C instead of let it play out on the F. And I went, oh, no. And I felt like I cracked the code. that's that feeling you get when you really feel like you cracked it. Like, got it. And then everybody was like, yeah, it's a nice song.
Maybe it'll be a B-side.
That's going to be a B. That's too damn long, Ed.
It's 5 minutes. It'll never be a single.
Never.
Incredible. One other story I wanted to ask about, Ed, which I love the story about. Again, just going back to the fact that you love to go meet the bands before and after the show. I think at some point you did all these great festivals, and at some point I think you met Metallica. We were just chatting about that a little while ago. So tell me the story about how you met James and the guys, and if they were welcoming and what they said to you at that point. Right?
Yeah, they were awesome, man. I mean, I had met James before that, but this is a funny story. And shout out to Sean Fay for jarring our memory on this one. Yeah, we were playing at K-Rock, one of those K-Rock radio festivals. I think it was in Irvine, the big shed thing in Irvine.
Yeah. And Irvine Amphitheater.
Yeah, and we had a connecting dressing room with Metallica.
I think it was actually the K-Rock Weenie Roast, which is weird. Which is weird because like Metallica is not a K-Rock band, but somehow
that's what was strange because I remember like it was alternative rock, and all of a sudden Metallica was next door. I was like, oh shit, what's that?
What are they doing here?
What are they doing? And so there was just this little door, and I remember, we had run out of beer, and I opened up the door to see. I thought it was ours. I thought it was connected, to ours.
Yeah.
I opened it up, and all the guys and James just right in my eyes, like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, hey, man, we ran out of beer. And he's like, here, go ahead. And I said, peace out, man, peace and love or something like that. He looks me right in the eye. He goes, we don't make love. We make metal.
I
was like, fair enough. I'm going back in my room now.
To create some metal. And by the way, you've toured with so many great bands. We mentioned them, but like STP, Soul Asylum, Bush, Incubus. Any fond memories, or who's your favorite band to tour with at this point?
So fun. Bush, man. Gavin and I, we had so much fun on that tour.
It was, I love that guy.
So much fun on that one. And then Incubus was just recent. We were in Australia with them in April for 3 weeks, and that was a freaking blast. Hung out with those guys a bunch, had dinner, and the tour was hugely successful. And they were awesome. Great guys that tour with. And then we're going out with Stone Temple Pilots in a couple weeks, actually, for a whole nationwide tour. And we have a new song with that we just got done in the nick of time called Lady Bang with Dean playing slide guitar.
Oh, amazing.
Freaking cool.
Dean from STP.
Yeah, Dean from STP.
So when does that song come out?
8/16.
Amazing.
So the first day of the tour, we got it like just to get it digitally ready. We got one, because we wanted him to play on it because we had this like bluesy, fun psychedelic song. I was like, man, it'd be so cool to hear him on that, and we could play it on stage. And so
is this the first new music you've released in like 6 years? 7
since
years?
That Local 717 EP.
Yeah, like 7 years, right?
7 years. And
are you nervous about putting it out into the world? Do you feel good about it?
I was, but now now it's mixed and mastered. I love it.
Yeah.
It was a journey because we did it all in house. We actually Zach Loy, our guitar player, produced, along with Nick J, our keyboard player, produced and actually mixed it as well. So it's like this full in-house deal, and it's amazing. So, and Dean's on it, cherry on top.
Yeah. Amazing. You were telling me this other last story I remember about, Robin Diaz is a friend. He's a drummer too. He played with Courtney when I wasn't in the band for a bit. You were telling me how he got the gig in the band because another one of your drummers slipped on like mac and cheese or something, which is very
exactly
Spinal Tap.
Right.
He didn't explode, but he slipped on mac and cheese. So tell me that story.
Yeah, there's the mac and cheese incident. Well, we had just gotten the reunion going, and we had this incredible show. We were flying out to California for it was a festival. Just flipping my mind the name of it now. It's right next to the Rose Bowl, and Tom Petty was headlining probably about 6 months before he passed away.
Incredible.
And I'd never seen him, so I'm so excited. I'm on the airplane. We're landing in LA. Your service comes on. When you land, your service comes on your phone and everything. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Well, mine's a ding, 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 ding. Drummer slipped, and mac and cheese broke his arm this morning.
And the gig's that night.
The gig's tonight. We found a drummer. His name's Robin Diaz. He's learning the songs right now. So that was how I met Robin. And so Robin gets up there. Both drummers on stage just rocking through it just because, we had. And then, I just wanted to get through the show and get it so we could watch Tom Petty, which we did, and it was freaking amazing.
So he broke his arm, but he still played that night.
He did with one hand.
One hand, right. Like a Rick Allen.
And then Robin was supporting. It was awesome.
It's hard to
I mean, throw and go. Are you kidding me? There was a lot of people. And I was like, I said, we're going to cancel? And like, I didn't want to. We were all there. So it's just like, we just punk rocked it. And like I said, the highlight was Tom Petty. I got to see him.
You have an incredible catalog, so I'm sure Robin knew some of the songs, because a lot of the songs, when I went back and I did a deep dive, I'm like, there's so many hits here.
Yeah,
So-
he knew a lot of them. He was a fan, which was great because he had a good feeling. But being a fan and then actually going up there and playing the songs is a whole other. Kudos to him for pulling that off.
Yeah, when I first played with Courtney or Hull, she played a party that I had many years ago, and I didn't know if I was in the band because the manager, JD, who manages Green Day and all these bands now, Crush, I said, JD, can I play drums with Courtney? And it was, at the time, the band was called Hull. And he said, I don't know, just come to sound check and we'll figure it out. I said, well, what does that really mean? He said, I don't, just come to sound check. Like, she doesn't really know you. So I showed up, she wasn't there. And I think she said to the other guys in the band, if this guy sucks, I'm not doing the gig. Because she was just playing a party that I had at the time for my company. So I literally was like, I didn't know if I should learn the set. And I had to learn the whole set. I put my headphones on and went in the bathtub, and I learned like the whole set that day. And that night we played. It was pretty sloppy. It's still on YouTube somewhere. It's not great, but the energy was there. And that's what kind of led me to join the band years later. So yeah, I was super grateful. But it's so hard to learn a whole set in like a day. People do it all the time.
And drums.
Yeah.
Drums, like, I mean, I look at drummers like I look at painters. I can't do it, okay?
I'm
amazed by it. I'm like totally amazed by it. So like anytime, drummers that learn stuff like that on the fly and then get up there and rock, I'm just like,
So you got the tour coming up. The tour starts soon. It goes, I believe, through September. New music, right? And so September 15th or so.
Yeah, it's August 16th. We're gonna put the single out. I think that's the first show out in California, and it goes through mid-September, and then I think we're headed back in the studio. We're down in Austin. It's an incredible place, recording with the new guys, and some stuff. This song sounds great, but we got so much more, and we're gonna hit the studio again in the fall and keep going.
Amazing. Let's do a toast out. I love this product. It's called Magic Mind. It's for mental clarity. It's one of the best things you could ever take. We'll do a little shot right now.
I need that.
So you and I together, it's the best thing you can take for mental clarity, Magic Mind, if you haven't actually taken a shot. So we'll take a shot now. I don't take too many, but I take like one or two. This is what I drink in the morning. I don't drink coffee. I drink Magic Mind. And by the way, use the code LIPS at the link in the description for a discount. Magic Mind. We'll do a shot. Here we go. Cheers, Ed.
Cheers.
All right. Awesome. All right, we're going to get into our top 5, my favorite part of the show.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great. Magic Mind. As I said, use the code LIPS at the link in the description.
Love it.
My top 5s, and we talked about this for a little bit, so I didn't spring it on you right away. But you're a sushi guy. I know you love food. I think you have like a top 5 sushi spot, whether it be New York or LA. I mean, or anywhere else in the world, but we should probably concentrate on New York or LA. So your top 5.
Yeah.
And we'll start from number 5.
Start from number 5 here in New York. Blue Ribbon's a good hang.
Yeah, good hang.
Yeah, like we said, it's a 5 on the sushi list, but it's a hang of number 1, right?
It's more of a hang, and the sushi is good.
Jamming.
It's
yeah,
good.
It's good. And number 4, we're gonna have to head out west.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's the best sushi.
I agree with you.
Out there, you know that.
Yeah.
Let's go at Matsuhisa, but not the one on La Cienega,
the original,
the original that has the private 4-seat super exclusive thing. I went there one time with a publisher, and it was otherworldly.
He was paying, maybe.
He was.
It's a hefty price tag.
Yeah, it was like $500 for me, and I was like, thanks, dude. But it was really good. And so Matsuhisa, that's a very special occasion. So number 2.
Oh, number 3. We're
We're number 3.
Yeah.
Asanabu, which is originally only a sashimi restaurant, but I do think they do sushi now. At the
Studio City, I believe, right?
It's right. Yeah, it's across the street from number 2, Nozawa, the original Nozawa.
Yeah.
You know, with the little plastic beers that you get, and they kick you out if you stop eating. It's like they keep bringing you the food until you stop eating.
If I'm not mistaken, Nozawa is what became Sugarfish.
Sugarfish is his son, right?
Yeah, because I remember being in there, and like if you talked on the cell phone, you'd be like, "Get out!" It's
if you stop eating, it's like, okay, bye.
Yeah,
you're out. So that's Asanabu's across the street from there, and it was only sashimi. And Gary Kerfers used to take me there back in the day, and we'd have our meetings there. It's funny. I had a dinner there with Diane Warren, Gary Kerfers, and me.
Amazing.
Took 2 bottles of wine, and she played us the freaking Titanic song in her car before it came out, and I was like, "This song is amazing. She sounds incredible. This is going to be huge."
Yeah. Well, sure enough.
Yeah.
And number 1, your best sushi spot between New York and LA. Drum roll, please.
Drum roll. Sushi Park.
Great spot. It's like a celebrity hotspot now. You can't even get in.
And the food is so good. It's small, yeah. I've seen Denzel Washington in there. All the Beastie Boys. Last time I was there, Kendall Jenner. I mean, it's this big too.
Yeah.
And you can get in, you just have to time it. They don't really take reservations. I think you just time it.
Yeah. What's
Kinda get
crazy
in
about
there.
LA is like all the best sushi spots are in strip malls, right? So like Sushi
Yeah.
Park is in this little weird
Asanawa
mall.
the same.
Yeah.
And so is Nizawa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think that LA, I'm going to go out on a limb here and maybe I'll get blasted for it, but I feel like LA has better sushi than New York.
Yeah.
I think New York does food,
Were
everything
there
else better.
something like the fish markets in Japan actually
Yeah.
get some of their fish from only like 4 hours off the LA coast? Like
Yeah.
it's like a great fish there. And so we got it all.
Well, we love sushi. Now we're going to get to your top 5 most underrated bands of the 90s. Most underrated.
I'm cheating.
We can cheat, you know. The good thing is it's not live, so cheating is okay. So your top 5 underrated bands of
Number
the 90s. Or start with number 5.
Number 5. Oh, yeah, number 5. Okay, starting with number 5, Blind Melon.
Great band.
Great band.
Great documentary.
Underrated. And when I hear that song, when I hear the single,
No Rain, yeah.
I'm always in a liquor store. And that's our first tour, 120 minutes. It was Blind Melon first, live, Public Image Limited, and Big Audio Dynamite headline.
Incredible tour.
The first tour I went on as a 19-year-old was with Johnny Rotten and Mick Jones from The Clash.
I can't imagine he was that nice. Was
And
he
Mick
nice?
Jones taught me how to roll a spliff for the first time. Because I said, well, what's in there? He said, that's tobacco and cannabis. Here, try.
How was Johnny Lydon? Couldn't have been a nice guy, I would imagine.
He was
right?
wild.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
nice?
I remember.
Not nice.
Yeah, he was crazy. I remember he said to me, because we were like really serious, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and I was walking the dressing room one day, and Johnny yells out, he goes, "Pain!" And he's doing a mimic of me singing Pain Lies on the Riverside, and like looking at him like, this guy's crazy.
That's not what you want to happen.
No, but he was great. That was a fun first tour. We cut our teeth on a fun tour. But Blind Melon was first. So Blind Melon,
Number 4.
they're underrated, but they're
Well, they're
freaking
underrated.
awesome.
They're
Yeah.
underrated. Number 4. for you.
Number 4, Violent Femmes.
Another great
Dun,
band.
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Recorded in their hit famous record recorded in a bathroom. That's all you need to say. And it's huge. And it was such a huge inspiration to me, and not a likely one. But they're still really popular, but yeah, underrated.
Underrated. Number 3 for you. We can cheat. It's okay. None of it's live, so it's all right.
Yeah, number 3 is obscure Grantley Buffalo. It's a band, this song called Mockingbirds. Grantley Phillips, the singer, absolutely gorgeous. Never really got radio or anything, but it's one of those songs, if you hear Mockingbirds, you just go like, how the hell is this not one of the top songs in everybody's list ever from any time?
It's so underrated. Both of us had to look it up.
Yeah, like I was like, had to
We're
get clued in on it because it's big, but the song is like, just Mockingbird, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So, number 3.
Number 2.
Oh, these are easy.
Most underrated band of the 90s.
Say Screaming Trees, Mark Lanigan.
Mark Lanigan was so incredible.
Lost you there. Oh, God. So good.
So sad that we lost him not long ago, too.
And Seattle, it's just, I know, yeah, it's sad. Seattle, him and Alice in Chains, and they were just, the melodics are just insane. Like,
Music
so
still holds up.
inspiring.
It's so great still. to
Oh,
this
yeah,
day.
yeah. Just the songs are so strong.
Yeah.
So strong.
And number 1, the most underrated band of the 1990s, according to Ed Kowalczyk from Live.
I'd say this is late 80s, 80s into early 90s, but
Okay.
they're so ridiculously underrated. I don't care what era it's from. The Cult.
One of my favorite bands ever.
My favorite band
And
of all
I
time.
love Ian. He's a great friend. He's been on the show. And I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah.
Because I think more people need to talk about the Cult.
The Cult, I mean, like, we played She Sells Sanctuary as like one of our first songs. I don't know that I'd be in a band if it wasn't for Cult, because their songs were so powerful and so bluesy and so cool that I felt like you can just sing them, and they're so much fun to sing. We cut our teeth to those records, and
I can see the connection lyrically, and I definitely
he's
understand
deep,
it.
man.
Yeah.
Ian's cool.
Ian's one of the
I
best.
met him. I remember drinking one night. Well, he wasn't drinking because he was all Buddhist and whatnot, and I wasn't at that time. We were at the W or somewhere, and I got to meet him, and I talked to him for like an hour, and it was
He's
so
the
cool.
best. He'll get deep. He'll go into like things about Indian culture.
He's a
and
Tibetan Buddhism
Yeah, I mean,
guy,
he
yeah.
goes deep, but I love Ian.
Sweet.
And last but not least, the most influential songs are the top 5 most influential songs of the 90s, Ed.
Wow.
Starting with number 5.
Number 5. Let me refresh. I was like number 5. I was ready for number 1. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Well, we always start with number 5, and you know, some people do no particular order, but we like an order here.
Number 5 for me. Now this is personal because one of my favorite tours we ever did, still favorite tour we ever did, was when she toured with us, PJ Harvey, and she had a record called "To Bring You My Love."
Sure.
And the song "To Bring You My Love" is just absolutely gorgeous, and I think she's one of my favorite singers, songwriters from any era, but she's definitely not the 90s record, because that was the record. I think I might have been a 94 record as well.
Yeah, she's incredible.
To Bring You My Love, because she toured, it was Veruca Salt and PJ Harvey live for our first big tour that was ours. And I loved her. I loved Veruca Salt.
Highly underrated, but so influential.
That's another underrated 90s band. Veruca Salt, I didn't make the list.
Yeah, that's true. There's so many. Number 4, most influential song of the 90s for you, Ed.
Oh, bad. Number 4, Everybody Hurts, REM. I just think like Michael's, you know, it's a beautiful song, but Michael's voice. I mean, has anybody ever sung like that? I mean,
so unique. It's
so unique, and he's such soul. That Southern soul in there, that twang, that he's just, I could listen to sing the phone book, Michael.
Yeah. Number 3 for you.
Number 3 just Smells Like Teen Spirit. Just, you know, Nirvana.
Could be
band.
number 1.
I never heard of them
Could
before,
also,
like yesterday, but.
Could also be number 1.
It could be all of them, yeah. Because it just, you know, regardless of how much of a fan you are, you can't deny that they've smashed open the whole freaking thing for everybody else. You know, they literally created modern rock radio, which then we benefited from because they had smashed it open.
Yeah.
So,
to this day, I think in the last 30 years, the most influential rock band, probably.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Number 2 for you.
All right, number 2, U2.
Great song.
Octung Baby. I remember when I heard that song for the first time, I was just like, this band just continues to go higher and higher and deeper and deeper. And as a fan, it's just, I remember when I heard Octung Baby for the first time, I was like, is it broken? Why does that just sound like that? I'm like, oh my God. And then you listen to all that, and then the one comes on. It's just like,
it's incredible.
So I'm done.
I went to see them play many years ago. I heard that song, and I named my company after that song, and the company that's still in existence here for the last 20 some odd years because of that song.
It's amazing.
My company was called One. So
killer.
Incredible song. And number 1 for you. I think we're on number 1, right?
Yeah, number 1.
Most influential song of the 90s, according to Ed Kowalczyk.
Well, for me, and I think in general, a song called Disarm, Smashing Pumpkins.
Incredible song.
I mean, I think, to me, my favorite song from the 90s, it isn't mine. No, my favorite song. No, I love that song. I think, I think Billy Corgan's my favorite songwriter from the 90s overall.
Genius songwriter.
Just his melodies, depth, the lyric, how he's a badass musician. And it's just, I met him a couple times. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah, one of the best, for sure. This is so fun, Adam, and there's so much coming up. Like I said, you got the new music coming out. You got the tour coming up. We got to do like a part 2. We have so many mutual friends.
I'm down, man. Yeah, we didn't even get to half of the friends we have mutually.
We're like long overdue.
And we didn't even
talk
about food.
Oh, we didn't. Well, there's a whole food thing I'm doing next. So like, well, we talked about
stay.
sushi.
I'll stay.
We talked about sushi. There you go.
We did.
We did.
We got in some food talk.
Is it live.com? What's the website?
Live the Band.
Livetheband.com.
That's it.
Check the band out on tour with STP. That's going to be a great bill. The catalog.
And Soul Asylum.
Amazing.
The
catalog between all 3 of you guys is incredible.
Oh, it's so cool.
Amazing songs. Are you playing in New York and LA? What are the shows that you're playing?
You know, New York, we're getting as close as Homedale, the PNC Bank Center down.
Right.
Yeah, and then YouTube Theater.
Amazing.
LA.
So I'm going to try and make one of those shows. Come out and hang out with you. This was fun. We got to do a part 2 soon.
I'm ready.
Dude, this is so fun.
So fun, Scott.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Great to see you.